The first guy I'm going to talk about is Devin Achane.
So I got it on this.
Devin Achane is going to be the running back one in a Mike McDonald system that always produces a lot of yards and a lot of touchdowns. This is one of the best offensive systems in all of football. That's why Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and Tua and Mostert and Jeff Wilson and Achane and why Jalen Wright this year might also be awesome. But this offense always produces, and Devin Achane was off the charts efficient last year, one of the most efficient running backs of all time, and that was just in his rookie season. And that was like in a 7 game stretch this year. Hopefully, if he's healthy, he should easily outproduce his ADP. I think he's going as like running back 10, and there's no way that he doesn't finish like top 8. I know it's not a lot of crazy value. This isn't a value pick that I'm saying, but I feel like Devin Achane is a running back that I think can easily finish his top 3, even as running back 1. And last year, after his blowout couple weeks, everybody was like, this is RB1 last year or next year. And he's just kind of slipped down the rankings. Um, and another guy in the similar type of situation, I feel like, is James Cook. I felt like everybody was pretty excited about James Cook. I'm gonna move Kyren Williams now up the rankings just because of the same thing. James Cook and Kyren Williams both were absolutely amazing, especially in the second half of the year last year. And I felt like everybody was like, okay, these guys are going top 10 running backs next year, which Kyren Williams is going right around there. Kind of depends where you're at, but I've seen him go as like running back 12. And a lot of people are kind of scared about Kyren Williams because of the Blake Corum pick in round 2, but he should easily finish as a top 10 running back. He was the RB2 last year, I thought, after missing a ton of games with the ankle injury. And yeah, he's banged up his foot again here in camp and had surgery, I believe. But I kind of feel like Kyren Williams could be, the 2018 Todd Gurley or 2017 Todd Gurley, whatever season that was. And the outside zone scheme that they have there, and inside zone and duo that they run a lot with the Sean McVay system, it just always works out. Sean McVay is also another offensive mind that I really like, just like Mike McDonald with Miami, and he should crush it this year in fantasy football. Now, next up, maybe not that deep of a sleeper, but it's Chase Brown. He's like running back 35, 32 to 35, kind of depending on where you're looking at it at, but he, I think, is going to be the running back 1. I don't think Zach Moss will be much of a factor except for taking away some goal line touches, but I can see Chase Brown easily having at least over 900 yards and over 5 touchdowns, along with being the third down back, so maybe getting 40 plus catches along with like 300 plus yards and a couple touchdowns through the air as well. He should easily outproduce his top 35 running back value. I can easily see Chase Brown being a top 25 or top 20 running back and easily crush that. If you get this guy, later in rounds, 10 on, he can be your running back too come championship weekend, right? So Chase Brown is definitely a guy that I kind of want on all of my teams. Same with this next guy, Khalil Shakir out of Boise State. He had his, coming out of year 3 last year, absolutely balled out in the later halves of the week or later half of the season, and in the playoffs as well. He was the main guy there, even with Diggs and Davis and Knox and Kincaid and Cook. He was their wide receiver 1. He led them in yards, catches, touchdowns, everything. He was amazing last year, and yards after the catch and contact, he is just a baller. He's kind of the whole package, I feel like. I think people just think he's like some slot deep threat guy, but he look for him to get at least 80 plus catches this year and 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns. He'll be leading them probably in every stat, maybe not touchdowns, but Khalil Shakir is going as like wide receiver 56. I don't see how he's gonna fit like that's like Gabe Davis numbers last year, and I don't see how he wouldn't finish as a top 30 wide receiver. He has Josh Allen throwing him the ball. So look to see how that goes this year. Khalil Shakir is a lock on almost every single one of my teams. The next guy, Rashee Rice, also broke out in the second half of the season, and everybody kind of just had him as a top, round 2 type of wide receiver, where Michael Pittman's kind of going, and some other guys like I thought he was going to be going like A.J. Brown, like where Debo's going, or Mike Evans or Brandon Ayuk, but he's going quite late, and I think it's because people think he's going to get suspended, but we're like a week, 2 weeks, week and a half away from the season starting, and we've never seen a suspension go this late into the season. I just don't think he's going to get suspended, and he's not going to face any legal action probably until the end of the season is how it's looking. And maybe his ADP will skyrocket, but I don't think it will, and he's going like right around like I think the 30 wide receivers range. Absolute baller. Let's see where he's going. He's going like 60, right? So he's going after guys like he's going after, James Conner-ish range, Zay Flowers range, which is like wide receiver 26. So he's going like 28, 30-ish. He's going in that range, and he's going to finish as a top 10 wide receiver this year. I don't think there's any doubt about it. He's easily the wide receiver one in that room. You got an Asian Kelsey. You got a hurt Hollywood Brown. You got Xavier Worthy, who can't get off the line because he's 160 pounds. Rashee Rice is going to demand a lot of targets, yards, and touchdowns, and he's great after the catch. So look for him to be a top 10 wide receiver this year. Same thing with Michael Pittman. Last year, he was a top 10 wide receiver, I think, right around that range. Same thing with the year before, and he's never really had a quarterback. He went from Matt Ryan to Wentz to Gardner Minshew, and with a guy in Anthony Richardson, who I think is going to finish as a top 5 quarterback, even top 3, could be the quarterback 1 this year if he stays healthy. If he stays healthy, Michael Pittman's going to be a top 5 wide receiver. I don't think there's any question about it. I think he's in for 100 catches again, 1,200 receiving yards, and 10 plus touchdowns if things really light it up with AR and they get everything going. And barring any injury, Pittman is my guy. If I can get him in round 3, I'm in a lot of 10-man leagues, so if I can get go Amon-Ra, Achane, and then like Michael Pittman, I think I'm just absolutely so set. Or even like Amon-Ra, Achane, Cook, see how that plays out. But absolutely one of those guys. And Amon-Ra St. Brown is the next guy I want to talk about. Not a sleeper at all. He's like wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5. He's going, I think, depending on what league you're in, he's going as high as like the 4th pick to like the 8th. It just kind of depends. But I think Amon-Ra is going to be the wide receiver 1 this year. I've kind of had the wide receiver 1 in the last like 4-ish years. I drafted CeeDee Lamb notably last year at the 107, which was way above his value at the time. Maybe because of Dak Prescott and Cowboy haters and CD haters, but Amon-Ra St. Brown's target share should go up this year. They don't have Josh Reynolds there this year. Jameson Williams is going to be their wide receiver 2. Maybe you can make a case for Sam Laporta taking some targets, but I think Amon-Ra St. Brown with just even 20 more targets this year, if he gets 10, 15 more catches, along with being injured last year, I think he absolutely crushes his value and finishes as the wide receiver 1 this year. Jared Goff breakout year, and they finish as the number 1 team in the NFC, possibly making it out of the NFC Championship game this year. But Amon-Ra St. Brown is extremely great, waiting for that extra breakout year again this year. So Amon-Ra St. Brown, easily a guy that I really like. And you got Ben Johnson calling the plays. I love the play caller. The quarterback's just all right. The offensive line is great. There's other weapons as well, so it's not like it's just Amon-Ra St. Brown. So it's like they're going to be double teaming him. Like Jameson Williams is electric. He is explosive. He's like one of the quickest guys in the league. They have Gibbs and they have David Montgomery and Laporta that I've already mentioned, but it's not like he's the only guy there, so he's going to get locked up every play. They're going to spread the ball around, but he's also the main guy there. So look for him to be wide receiver 1. And then Evan Ingram is a tight end who I think can easily finish as a tight end number 5. I don't know exactly where. I think he's going as like tight end 7. It's like 6 to 8. It kind of depends on where you're at, but let's see, ADP of 95.5-ish, so going between that 94 and 98-ish range is right around the David Njoku and Jake Ferguson, and I just don't think a guy that had 20 targets last year doesn't finish as a top 5 tight end again this year. They had a lot of misplays as well, a lot of drop passes, a lot of bad holding calls, and a lot of stuff taken away with Evan Ingram and Ridley last year, but barring any injury, this team should be even better this year, and I believe in the Jaguars. I believe in Trevor Lawrence. I don't know how much I like the play calling in the offensive line, but Trevor Lawrence is great, and he has a great connection with Evan Ingram, who can easily have 100 catches, 1,100 yards, and 7 touchdowns. Easily be a top 5 tight end, and he's a guy that I love to target in these later rounds because you can easily have a team of Amon-Ra, you know, Amon-Ra, Kyron Williams, and then Achane, in my 10-man league at least, right, where I get the swing and get these guys both on my team, and I can follow it up later in the rounds, like stack Evan Ingram and Trevor Lawrence, who I think is going to be great this year. I wasn't going to do more than 8, but I also want to talk about another guy now that I'm on the Trevor Lawrence grind here. And if I can find him on this list, which is why it's so crazy, is Brian Thomas Jr., man. Brian Thomas Jr. might be the best rookie wide receiver this year, at least. I think he is a better quarterback than Marvin Harrison Jr., who's going like in that top 15 range. I don't know why Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to go in that top 15 range, but Brian Thomas Jr. is going at ADP of 118, going behind JSN and Ladd McConkey, who are like wide receiver 3s on their team. Ladd might be wide receiver 2, but Jameson Williams, he's going behind Williams, and he's going behind Rome, who I like Rome, but he's going behind Hollywood, who's injured, and D-Hop, who's injured, and Xavier Worthy. Like, why is he going behind Xavier Worthy and Watson? This guy should easily crush his value. He's like wide receiver 56. He's right around that Shakir range, and like this guy easily can finish as a top 30 wide receiver this year, if not even that, like top 40. And that is like crushing his value. Like, he's gonna have some good weeks. He might have some bad weeks, but Brian Thomas Jr. should absolutely cook this year, and he's a guy that I really like. So these are my top 8, top 9 kind of guys that are sleepers that I'm kind of trying to target in almost every single one of my leagues this year. If I can't get Achane, I'm going to try to get Cook. Same thing with Kyron Williams and vice versa. Chase Brown is definitely a guy later on that I really like. Khalil Shakir, same thing. Same thing with Rashee Rice. And like Michael Pittman and Amon-Ra and these other top 3 guys are some pretty high valued picks that you're going to have to use on them, but they're guys that I think should blow their ADP out of the water, like above, guys like, you can get Breece Hall at the number 2 pick or the running back 2, either one. And he finished with the same amount of total yards as James Cook, who had 40 less touches. So, and going into that Joe Brady system, I think James Cook, year 2 Joe Brady, gonna be absolutely explosive. Michael Pittman's going right around this range, and I don't see a world where he doesn't finish above Mike Evans and Debo unless if AR gets hurt. So those are my top 8s. I really love Devin Achane. I love Cook, Kyron Williams. I had these 2 guys last year, so maybe I'm a little bit biased, but I think they were going to be great this year as well. I really like Chase Brown. I really liked him going into last year, but he didn't get onto the field really until like the later couple weeks of the season. Love Shakir, love Rashee Rice, love Michael Pittman, and love Amon-Ra St. Brown and Evan Ingram. So look to these guys to being absolute beasts this year.